All right. We're back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. As usual, I'm your host, Mark Pierce. What do we got going on today? Today is Saturday. It is August 22nd. I am excited for today's Song of the Day. Can't wait to talk about it, but let's get to what happened on this date first. On this date in music history, we got just a few things. 1964, Martha and the Vandellas released Dancing in the Streets. What a song. Everyone knows that song. And then Van Halen came along and put out Diver Down, which was mostly covers on a very short album. But I didn't mind that version of that song for some reason. I thought it was all right, no big deal. 1969, the Beatles take what would be their last group photo together at one of the homes of John Lennon in England. All the way up to 1981, Duran Duran have their first hit in the United Kingdom with Girls on Film. It was not a hit in the United States, although that video was played on MTV a lot. It was not a hit. Speaking of that video, it was directed by Godley and Cream. Do you remember that band and that song Cry? Well, anyway, that video was heavily edited. You can see the unedited version if you look carefully. A lot of inappropriate lack of clothing in that video originally. That was pretty much it as far as on this date for music news. For birthdays, we got John Lee Hooker, born in 1917. We all know my story with John Lee Hooker. Big fan of his. Tori Amos is 57 years old. Whatever happened to Tori? Debbie Peterson, the drummer from the Bangles, is 59. And also Roland Orzabal, as we talked about earlier in one of our other episodes for Tears for Fears, he is also 59. Released on this date in history, 1984, Crocus releases its album, The Blitz. I do love that band, Crocus. That has that song, Our Love, on it. I did not know anything about that song until I got satellite radio. Thank goodness for satellite radio, because that is a great song. Also has their remake of Ballroom Blitz, which has its fair share of remakes done. Also, forgot to mention yesterday on Octane Friday, I did save you all from a song of the day yesterday that I will be playing at Halloween. I typically do play it on Halloween, so I will wait till that time to do this, but it was very difficult to not talk about this album yesterday. Released this week in 1993, this record right here, Type O Negative, Bloody Kisses, goth metal at its finest. This is a great album. Two songs on there you should know, well, three actually. Christian Woman, my favorite, Black Number One, about a girl that wants to dye her hair and go out. Sounds like a terrible idea for a song, but it is just one of my favorite all-time songs. And they do an incredible remake of Summer Breeze from Seals and Crofts. We got to see them in concert many years ago, Paul Chabot and I, when we had young kids, only to find out they actually went on stage at midnight. So there we were, down the street from Toad's Place, getting a cup of coffee, trying to stay awake for a midnight show. So what do we got going on today? It is another birthday that I have not mentioned. Today is, or would be, Layne Staley's birthday. He was born on this date in Kirkland, Washington in 1967. I've talked about Alice in Chains and Layne Staley. I'm a huge fan, one of my favorite bands. What a voice, what a tragic story, but what a voice. And I absolutely love this band and his work with other bands too. So let's talk about him for a minute. He was in a band when he was 2 or 3 years old, they say, and by age 9 they said he wanted to be a singer. He was raised in a Christian Scientist family. He left that ideal when he was 16. He grew up on typical music influences: Sabbath, Deep Purple, Anthrax, Van Halen, Judas Priest, Rainbow, Merciful Fate, Ministry, and then the usual, they throw this in always at the end, Prince and David Bowie. Huge influence for him. He was in a band by the time he was in high school called Sleaze in 1984, and then that kind of morphed and kind of changed and became the first Alice in Chains, with an N, not in, but in 1986. When they first started, they were dressed in drag, and they were basically a speed metal band that would do covers of Slayer and Armored Saint. Then they would break up, they would reform, he would start a new band with Jerry Cantrell, and then they would try to come up with different names, and then they wanted to do Alice in Chains as their name, and the former band members said, okay, you can go ahead and use that name, and they did. They did a demo called the Treehouse Tapes, and that's what got them a record deal. And by 1990, also because on this day in history, 1990, this day, yesterday, 30 years ago, Facelift was released, their first album. I remember selling a lot of that record in the record store. I remember it was a big deal. I did like the song Man in the Box, but I wasn't yet ready for that grunge music. I was not a huge fan at that time. So they toured for 2 years on that, and then they put out their EP Sap, which also did quite well. And then they were in that 1992 movie Singles, which we'll be highlighting in September. They appeared in it, and they sang 2 songs, and that's when I got hooked on Alice in Chains, because that song Wood was in that movie, was on that soundtrack, and that song I absolutely love. And then in 92, they put out their seminal album, Dirt. That's what really kicked in for me, obviously. Dirt is 4 times platinum, critically acclaimed, right in the middle of Grunge Nation. That thing sold like crazy, just flew out the door. It was just an amazing record. And then 94, Jar of Flies, comes out of nowhere, the EP. I even had an EP CD of that actually had little plastic flies in the binder that would move around. Love that record, probably one of my favorite records. I have it playing right now. And then also 1995, he does a side project with member of Pearl Jam and Screaming Trees, and that's called Mad Season. We talked about that last week on my Rivers theme, but that is a great record. If you don't know it, listen to Wake Up, Long Gone Day, and of course my favorite one, River of Deceit. We're going to post that below, but what a song, River of Deceit. That's crazy. That's so good. So what do we got going for songs? If I had to pick from songs, I mean, this is a lot to choose from. I'm running up on my 10 minutes here, but I am posing in front of, whoops, wrong way, my Alice in Chains poster. That's why we moved locations for today here in the Rock Cave. But you got We Die Young, Man in the Box, Sea of Sorrow, Them Bones, Sick Man, Rooster, Junkhead, Wood, Hate to Feel. And then you got, I mean, to me, if you listen to any of the Jar of Flies, that's like a greatest hits to me. Rotten Apple, Nutshell, I Stay Away, No Excuses, Don't Follow, The Mad River, like we talked about, The Mad Season, sorry. And then, of course, their Unplugged record. Their Unplugged record is insane, and I already played that song of the day recently, I think. But from that Unplugged record, you've got so many good songs. But Sludge Factory is the best one on that one, if you ask me. So, what am I doing for song of the day with all that to think of? It's got to be Nutshell from that Jar of Flies. What a song. Like I said, I've been playing that here this morning. Nutshell is your song of the day. If you don't know it, listen to it, crank it up. I'm going to post a couple other things from Alice in Chains, and we're going to do some Mad Season below. But absolutely, Nutshell is your song of the day. Enjoy it. It's Saturday. Looking forward to the week coming up. We got lots of different stuff going on, different kind of music. Hope you have a great day, and as usual, we'll see you on the flip side.